In the early morning, Jerry, with an expression of bliss, relieved himself while lazily gazing at the scenic view outside. However, he unexpectedly spotted a zombie wandering within the Alexandria safe zone. Jerry's face immediately turned pale. Upon hearing the shouts, the others swiftly emerged armed with weapons, but it was too late. Some had already met with the unexpected, while others were blocking the zombies from the gaps in the walls. Carol and the rest rushed to provide support. The immediate priority was to rebuild the collapsed walls. Otherwise, zombies would continue to pour in. Quickly, everyone collaborated to lift the iron plates. One zombie, however, managed to get on top of the plate, leaving them unable to deal with it. Fortunately, Rosita swiftly killed the zombie from behind, while the frontal zombies were blocked. One leaped onto Aaron. Jerry took over the axe and killed the zombies. Finally, with a collective effort, they managed to erect the gate. The next step was to reinforce it to prevent further collapses. Aaron gasps helplessly. The situation in Alexandria's safe zone was deteriorating rapidly, with food shortages and damaged walls compromising everyone's safety. After a while, they temporarily sealed the breach. Residents banged on various walls to disperse the zombies, preventing concentration at one point and potential collapses. However, they knew this method was only a temporary solution. If things continued this way, it was just a matter of time before the zombies breached. They gathered together and discussed. To fully repair the walls, they needed to replace all the problematic iron plates. Unfortunately, Alexandria's safe zone lacked the necessary tools. Carol suggested checking the hilltop, hoping that Earl's tools might still be there. If there was nothing else to do, then they'd have to abandon the Alexandria safe zone. 3 hours later, they arrived at the familiar hilltop. Only it wasn't what it used to be. The vibrant hilltop was now in ruins, and everyone was feeling a little sad. A few of the zombies were still people they knew well, wearing the armor of the kingdom of old. Though saddened, they didn't forget their purpose: find Earl's tools. First, they had to deal with these bothersome zombies before proceeding. 3 minutes later, they dealt with the zombies and began searching in the area where iron was previously forged. However, the results were disappointing. They hadn't found what they were looking for. At that moment, Carol alerted everyone to another batch of zombies approaching from a distance. They armed themselves, ready to confront the threat, but soon they realized something was wrong. The zombies were hovering in place. Lydia saw the Whisperer's tactics at a glance. Aaron, grinding his teeth, realized these bastards hadn't died off entirely. When he thought that Alexandria's safe zone's miserable situation was due to the Whisperers, his anger rose to the sky. So when it came to killing zombies, Aaron also gave it his all, punching them one by one, until only one Whisperer remained. This Whisperer, named Keith, was visibly frightened. If Lydia hadn't opened her mouth, this man would have killed him. Trembling, Keith claimed, "I'm Keith. I've never harmed anyone." After Alpha died, the Whisperers fell apart, and I'm the last one left. Aaron didn't believe him at all. He thought the man was hiding something. They decided to lock Keith in the cellar until they figured out what to do with him. But when they got to the cellar, Jerry was shocked. It turned out that there were several other people down there, both men and women, and they looked a little scared. It was evident that Keith had deceived them. Aaron looked in the corner and found a human skin mask. There's no doubt that the people hiding here are the Whisperers. Lydia tried to advocate for these people, stating that not all of the Whisperers were inherently evil. Most were just trying to survive. As they debated, Jerry noticed a scarf on the wall, belonging to his wife, originally from Alexandria's safe zone. It now appeared here. It indicated that these few Whisperers had been with Beta when they attacked Alexandria's safe zone, trampling crops, setting fires, and leaving the community in a dire state. These individuals were not deserving of forgiveness. Crouching on the ground, Keith saw them thinking and grabbed his dagger. At that moment, the 2 men and 2 women who had been hiding swiftly fled. Seeing that his mate was safe, Keith wasn't going to fight back. Aaron, infuriated, hung Keith from the rafters and used zombies to force him to reveal how many Whisperers were left. Aaron gets angry and bites Keith's hand with the zombies. Some hesitated, finding this method too inhumane. Carol grabbed Aaron, urging him to remain calm at all times and not let hatred cloud his judgment, so that he doesn't do something that will make him feel uneasy in the future. Otherwise, no matter what he does in the future, he will carry that past with him. She did a lot of wrong things because of her son Henry's hatred. She had harmed those who cared about her and didn't want Aaron to follow the same path. Aaron, influenced by Carol's words, regained his composure. He understood what Carol meant.
I can cut your hand off, you can do it yourself. Choice is yours.
Consequently, he released Keith. Half an hour later, they loaded some tools they found onto a horse-drawn carriage. Aaron, in reality, knew that the Whisperers no longer posed a threat, and Keith hadn't lied. It was just the inner hatred that made him want to eliminate the Whisperers entirely. It's a good thing Carol woke him up in time, and Keith didn't turn into a zombie. He cut off his own hand to save his life. Carol left some food for Keith as a parting gesture.
We weren't all like her. Some of us just wanted to survive. Thank you for this and for what you said.
After brief goodbyes, they prepared to leave. The walls of Alexandria's safe zone awaited their repairs. That's when Keith stopped them. He thought he had a piece of information that might be useful to these people. And then Keith said that you guys broke into the Alpha Preservation Zombies cave. Although most had escaped, 2 girls were left inside. Eventually, only one remained. Carol froze. Keith was talking about Connie. Keith continued, mentioning that the girl seemed injured but alive. The last time he saw her was near the cave entrance. This was good news. Connie might still be alive. It seemed sparing Keith might indeed be a blessing. Carol, grabbing her backpack, was about to set off to find Connie. Her guilt over Connie's disappearance weighed on her. However, Aaron advised her to return and discuss a plan with the others before venturing out. Carol nodded and stopped being stubborn. The first order of business was to get back to the Alexandria safe zone and bring the news back. The next day, upon learning her sister was alive, Kelly rode out alone to search. She arrived at the location mentioned by the Whisperers, discovering a makeshift camp with a horse partially consumed by zombies. Kelly went inside to look for clues, in case her sister had been here. After searching for a while, Connie found a familiar satchel, the one Connie had been carrying. Opening it, Kelly searched through its contents, everything familiar to her, particularly the slingshot inside, an item both sisters owned. Flipping through the notebook, as her sister was deaf, she often wrote things down. One page caught her attention. It seemed to be written when they were trapped in the cave, but seeing the next page, Kelly cried. It seemed her sister was indeed alive, and she had encountered someone Michonne knew. Kelly adjusted her emotions and continued flipping through the notebook. On the next page, there was another written dialogue. After reading it, Kelly couldn't help but feel worried. From what was written on the page, her sister and the others must have been in danger, so they fled before they had time to pack their things. Growing more anxious, Kelly followed the trail, but the horse seemed unwilling to move any further. As if exhausted, Kelly tugged twice and fell in the mud. At this moment, Carol, Magna, and Rosita also arrived. They're also worried about Connie and don't feel comfortable letting Kelly go looking for Connie alone. Kelly got up and showed them the notebook, expressing her concerns. Connie might be in danger, and they needed to find her quickly. In reality, Connie was alive. When she and Magna were trapped in the cave during Beta's attack on Alexandria's safe zone, Connie managed to escape. However, she sustained minor injuries, and it had been 2 days since she last ate. Stumbling her way toward the hilltop, she collapsed weakly after a few steps. 10 minutes later, a horse approached Connie. Weakened, she turned to see a stranger, Virgil, the man who had taken Michonne to the island. Unexpectedly, he had also left the island and encountered the severely injured Connie. Virgil sets up a makeshift camp for the next few days, and Connie gradually recovers under his care. However, they sensed something ominous approaching and, without time to pack, fled. It's unclear how long it took, but eventually, they all ran out of energy. They came to a road and there was some disagreement. Virgil suggested going left, where there were mailboxes indicating houses for shelter. Connie argued against waiting in a house and advocated continuing to run until they lost whatever was chasing them. As they debated, roars echoed from behind, and the rustling of the grass indicated the approaching threat. The situation was eerie, as if they were being stalked by some carnivorous creature. Now Connie couldn't care less and pulled Virgil towards the house.